under the cold lights of the Galactic Tribunal Hall, lined with 17 species of nobles and functionaries. The atmosphere reeked of smug superiority and polished metal. The Empire's finest, draped in glimmering sashes and bioluminescent metals, sat like silent statues. Only the hiss of the climate stabilizers and the soft clink of an Androlian goblet being set down punctuated the air. At the heart of the vast dome, floating midair in a hollow projection, spun a jagged blue-green sphere. "Earth, you brought humans into this?" asked the Varlician High Justice, 3 of his 7 eyelids blinking in confusion. By whose authority? No one answered directly. Instead, a nervous Zentari intelligence officer, all silk tendrils and darting eyes, shifted behind the lectern. He cleared his throat, a chirping, static-filled sound, and accessed the file. Per Protocol 77-C. Non-consensual encounter with primitive warlike races. Subsection 9. Earth qualified as a minor Class G biosphere. Our presumption was that contact would be simple, conquest surgical. A low ripple of laughter skittered across the chamber. One member of the council sipped his drink through a facial tube and chuckled. "You conquered lemurs with better tech once. How did this go wrong?" "Footage," the intelligence officer said stiffly. The lights dimmed. The hollow feed flickered. It opened on a dusty battlefield, charred dirt still steaming. 6 alien soldiers, tall, armored, gleaming, stormed a broken warehouse. They moved with calculated rhythm, rifles humming. Then came the cut. Inside, crouched behind a pile of rusted engine parts, were 4 humans. Not elite, not clean, not uniformed. They wore scavenged armor and threadbare jackets. But they were smiling. Then, mayhem. A soda can was tossed like a grenade. One alien slipped on what seemed to be spilled motor oil. Another was stabbed in the eye with a sharpened toothbrush. The last screamed as a woman in a tank top tackled him, screaming something about her last Girl Scout cookie. The clip cut to black. A hush. "Is this accurate?" the High Justice asked flatly. "We triple-verified your vastness." The woman, call sign May Riker, was one of the prisoners being processed for transfer. She commandeered the squad. She used human colloquialisms, post-20th century weaponry, and archaic tactics. "She threw a soda can," murmured one of the counselors, his fronds curling in disbelief. "A Pepsi," someone whispered. "Dear gods," the Zentari officer continued. "We underestimated their psychological profile. We presumed female soldiers to be non-hostile. Documentation categorized them as emotionally brittle, physically weak." "Biased data?" asked the Androlian delegate, arching a translucent brow. "No. Our source was on Netflix." More silence. From the shadows near the rear of the tribunal, another voice finally spoke, quiet but edged like razors dipped in velvet. "You think Earth sent its best?" Heads turned. A figure stepped from the darkness. She wore no sash, no armor, just a plain, dusty uniform with 2 missing buttons and a single patch stitched crookedly over the breast. Riker, M. Her eyes were gray steel. Her voice, gravel dragged through whiskey. "I wasn't even on active duty. I was retired, teaching supply chain logistics at a lunar community college when your boys snatched me. You think you faced a general? You faced a janitor with trauma and a monkey wrench." Guards moved. The tribunal stirred. She didn't flinch. "General May Riker," someone muttered. "Wrong again," she replied, arms crossed. "I didn't take the rank back until after you started executing women prisoners." A shiver cut through the dome. One by one, the noble species stopped smiling. She stepped closer to the platform's edge, gaze sweeping the room like a blade unsheathed. "I was there. I saw the files. You called them biological waste. You didn't even ask for surrender. You called the camps." "We were cleansing instability," the High Justice countered, face cold. "We did not know they were of strategic value." "Strategic value," she said slowly. "You're talking about mothers, medics, communications officers. You murdered the ones who already surrendered." A low murmur rose again, but no one laughed now. May leaned forward. "I don't care what your laws say. I don't care what species you are, how many galaxies you hold. or how many suns you light. You don't get to laugh after that. The tribunal chamber dimmed slightly. The AI controlling environmental tone settings, ever sensitive to mood shifts, recalibrated the hue from sterile white to storm gray. "Where are your demands, then?" the High Justice asked. "Why come here alone? You seek justice? Vengeance?" She smiled then, a crooked, terrifying smile. "No," May said. "I came to deliver notice. You messed with the wrong species, and we're not sending diplomats anymore." From her belt, she unclipped a device and tossed it gently to the center of the floor. It flickered, expanded, then projected live feeds, dozens of them. Human ships moving in strange patterns. Aliens being stunned by trap music blaring from external comms. Human boarding parties fighting with kitchen tools. One soldier literally riding a hover beast with reins made of shoelaces. A wave of disbelief passed over the council. "Those are active war fronts?" one delegate gasped. "Oh no," May replied casually. "That's just pregame." A nervous Zarnaxi noble piped up. "But you're scattered. You have no centralized command." "You think that's a weakness?" May barked a laugh. "Try herding angry raccoons with rocket launchers. You'll burn entire systems," the High Justice warned, voice rising. "We will retaliate. You'll lose Earth." She looked him dead in the eye. "Earth is already lost. You should have worried about what you just woke up." For a beat, no one moved. Then the Zentari officer coughed nervously. "She's bluffing. Surely she's bluffing. No rational species." May interrupted, voice now almost a whisper. "I'm a woman who spent 3 months in your camps. I buried girls who called me mom just because I remembered their names. I watched you burn their letters before they finished writing them. I am done being rational." The device on the floor beeped once. Every screen flared red. On each feed, the words appeared in clean, scrolling text. "You killed woman prisoners of war. The reckoning has begun." May stepped backward into shadow as alarms began to rise in the tribunal. The last thing they saw was her mouth a phrase, soundless on the feed, but unmistakable to those who knew the ancient tongue of Earth. "Yippee-ki-yay." And then she was gone. Behind her, the Empire began, very slowly and very publicly, to realize that humanity wasn't responding to war. It was declaring one. The warship Iron Macy was not built for elegance. It groaned when it turned, howled when it decelerated, and creaked like a haunted mineshaft when its torpedoes loaded. But she was fast. And most importantly, she was human. Inside, General May Riker sat cross-legged in a chair that had once been a cargo restraint and now served as her throne. Her uniform was stitched by hand. Her hand, a patchwork of canvas, faded blue cotton, and a blood-stained rank bar. Her hair, streaked with gray and braided with wire, hung heavy against her back. The room was dim, lit by a single swinging bulb and the flicker of a malfunctioning console. On it, May watched the face of the Galactic High Justice replay again and again, mouth agape, eyes wide, shocked at the idea that a woman from Earth could not only threaten the Empire, but do so with such surgical cruelty. "So that's what a woman general looks like," someone muttered behind her. She didn't turn. "Depends on the lighting," May said dryly. "Sometimes I look like your mother. Other times like the nightmare that keeps your therapist rich." A chuckle. Her second-in-command, Tessa "Tex" Callahan, entered the bridge. Tex wore cowboy boots, space armor, and a sarcastic grin. She spat a wad of gum into a paper cup and flicked the console's edge. "You just made the top 5 enemies of the Empire, boss," Tex said. "Right behind unlicensed humor and Earth barbecue sauce." "I'm flattered," May said. "Did we get the signal out?" Tex nodded. "Every outpost, every moon colony, even that rogue DJ orbiting Saturn. They all saw it. Hell, my grandma just called and said, 'About time somebody rattled those aliens.'" May leaned forward. "And the files?" Tex's smile disappeared. "Encrypted, but real. 49 separate extermination orders. All directed at captured human women. Medical officers. Translators. Peace envoys. You name it." May exhaled slowly, her knuckles widening around the armrest. "They used the term non-critical biomass. One Empire commander even said we smelled like wet earth and resistance. Another voice, this one softer, joined them. Lieutenant Kelani Wu, May's communications officer, held a pad in one hand and a steaming mug in the other. Barely 23, quiet-eyed, always listening. I translated the full set of orders, she said. They didn't even pretend it was about security. They just didn't want the hassle. May took the mug and drank. What are we if not a hassle? She stood and faced the table in the center of the room, a scratched and dented slab that once served as the hull door of a decommissioned freighter. Now, it was her war map. On it blinked a dozen red lights. Targets. They think we'll come through the front gate, May said. They expect fleets, negotiations, maybe a ceasefire with angry eyebrows. Tex raised an eyebrow. We're not doing that. May smirked. We're going to throw a brick through their kitchen window and let the fire spread. Wu hesitated. We don't have enough people for a full assault. We don't need people, May said. We need story. Momentum. The right rumor in the right system at the right time can cripple a civilization more than 1,000 ships. Tex tapped the table. Operation Laundry Fire? May nodded. It was a plan born in absurdity, bred in vengeance, and wrapped in a kind of chaotic logic only Earth-born minds could create. Stage 1. Infiltrate the Empire's central media relay satellite, codenamed Clear Voice. Hack into their primary cultural feed. Stage 2. Splice in real footage of war crimes committed against human women, followed by human music, ballads, protest anthems, and a 30-minute loop of Aretha Franklin's Respect. Stage 3. Scramble identification of every Empire admiral involved, so their own citizens start asking, which one was it? Stage 4. Let paranoia do the rest. Won't this make us terrorists? Wu asked softly. May paused. That's the beauty of it. When you're a woman, they call you that before you even raise your voice. Later that day, the Iron Macy dove into dark space. Their destination, the Clear Voice station orbiting Sybil 5. A glittering communications monolith defended by 12 automated defense rings, 2 squadron patrols, and one very bored alien DJ who defected to Earth years ago and now ran a pirate radio channel called Human Static. Tex hailed him first. Yo, Base Blaster, this is Iron Macy. You still owe me a back rub and a midnight airlift. A beat of silence. Then, Callahan? That you? Oh, hell yes. You here to blow something up, or just say hi? Both. A pause. Well, hot damn, welcome back, General. May took the comms and leaned into the mic. Permission to use your station for a little truth. Base Blaster laughed. You brought that mixtape? I brought Justice, a flamethrower, and a remix of Dolly Parton singing Jolene in 6 languages. Permission granted. They docked in silence. Inside Clear Voice, the humans moved like ghosts. They knew the station layout from old Earth smugglers who'd done data theft in the past. Wu uploaded the files. Tex kept the airlocks watched. May stood at the main console and activated the feed. One by one, every comlink in the Empire blinked. Phones, billboards, VR headsets, tablets, wall screens, public fountains. A face appeared. A woman in a ragged uniform. Dust on her cheeks. Blood on her collar. Her voice clear. My name was Lieutenant Dana Course. I fixed their shuttles. I held their wounded. I sang to their children. Then they lined us up and said we weren't worth the food it would take to keep us alive. Then, another. We thought surrender meant safety. We were wrong. Another. Tell Earth, tell my sisters, they don't get to bury me in silence. The Empire watched. Then the music began. Soft at first. A piano chord. Then a drum line. Then a woman's voice. All I'm askin is for a little respect. It played everywhere. The effect was instant. Panic. Outrage. Chaos. In one system, an Empire citizen spit on an officer and shouted murder. In another, a group of young alien women organized a sit-in. On a mining moon, an entire platoon of laborers refused to work until someone explained what happened to the prisoners from Seoul. The tribunal tried to pull the feed, but it reconnected itself and looped for 27 hours. By the time May and her team slipped out through an unguarded cargo shaft, they'd lit a fuse no one could contain. Back on the Iron Macy, Tex dropped into her chair with a groan. "We're going to get shot at a lot for this." "Good," May said, sliding into her seat. "That means it worked." Wu smiled faintly. "What now?" May pointed to the blinking dots on her map. "Now we hunt the ones who gave the orders." She looked up. Her eyes didn't shine. They burned. "Because I want the galaxy to understand one thing. You didn't just kill soldiers." She touched the console. A single file appeared. "Operation Mothers of the Fallen. You killed women who still believed peace was an option. And now you're going to learn what happens when they were wrong." They came in under cloaked silence, the Iron Macy tucking itself into the shadow of a dead moon orbiting the planet Syrax 9. The capital city below glittered with imperial opulence, crystal spires, neon veins of transit paths, and clouds that had been chemically shaped into pleasing forms. It was a world of peace, manufactured, sterilized, controlled. May Riker stood at the main console, arms folded, her jaw set in iron. "Populations mostly bureaucrats and egg-clutching aristocrats," said Tex, scrolling through the surveillance feed. "If we make noise, it won't be soldiers that panic first. It'll be lawyers." May didn't smile. Perfect. Nothing collapses faster than a government trying to avoid paperwork. She tapped the screen, zooming in on their target. Sovereign Tower, heart of the Imperial Security Archives. Tall as a storm and 3 times as cold. Inside were files, the real ones. Unredacted orders. Chain of command. Names. Dates. Proof that the executions weren't just battlefield panic or miscommunication, but doctrine. Doctrine with signatures. "Full lockdown," said Kalani, her voice hushed. "Triple-layered encryption, armed guards, retinal entry, quantum signatures. Not even Empire officials go inside without clearance." May's eyes narrowed. "Then we'll go in without it." The plan was madness. It required precision, audacity, and a complete disregard for architectural norms. Fortunately, humans had all 3. Tex grinned and snapped her chewing gum. "We dropping in through the roof or coming up the toilet again?" "Neither," May said. "We're walking in the front door." The silence that followed was almost reverent. 5 hours later, May stood at the gates of Sovereign Tower, flanked by her strike team, disguised in appropriated Imperial uniforms, faces half-covered with visors, voices encoded with distortion masks. The guards didn't question them. No one questioned authority in a building like this. Inside, everything was glass and gold, the kind of place where people were meant to feel small. May felt nothing, just heat behind her ribs and names she hadn't forgotten. Her fingers twitched at her side. There was no weapon on her belt, just a small, square detonator stitched into the lining of her glove. Her real weapon was already inside. Wu. Kalani sat deep inside the building's subdata hub, having slipped in as a maintenance AI specialist. At 23, she had the face of a harmless intern and the hacking ability of an ancient god. No one had stopped her. "General." Her voice came through the comms, calm and unhurried. "I'm in the mainframe. They don't know I'm here. And they've got everything." "Confirm the kill lists," May said. Wu hesitated. "There are 6 kill lists," she said. "Not 49 names. Over 4,000. Executed over 5 years. Every one of them labeled female class soldier unit. No trial. No court. Just erasure." May shut her eyes. She saw them. The faces. Some she knew. Others only barely. Women who taught children. Women who fixed comms towers. Women who carried stretchers. And her. Dana Kors. The one who died shielding a girl she'd met just a week before. Who wrote her last words in blood on the inside of a meal tray. "Tell Earth we matter." They did. Now the galaxy would know. Wu's voice returned. "Uploading to our relay drone. ETA to system-wide broadcast. 6 minutes." That's when everything went wrong. The alarms didn't scream. They whispered, a soft chime followed by a drop in temperature. Elite security protocol. Outside the tower's grand lobby, Half a dozen suits of auto armor activated. Their eyes glowed red. One turned to May and spoke in a voice like melted iron. Unauthorized genomic signature detected. Subject, human. Female. Classification, hostile ancestry. May's hand twitched, but Tex was faster. A blaster round to the knee, and the mech hit the floor with a metallic wail. Chaos exploded. May drew a pulse rifle from beneath her cloak, the barrel already humming. Guess we're not doing this quiet. Wu's voice crackled, sharp now. They've locked down transmission lines. I'm boxed in. Can't get the files out without blowing the core. Tex shouted as a beam sizzled past. We blow the core, we fry the evidence. May turned, her mind racing. A dozen guards. A collapsing plan. Proof of genocide trapped inside a computer. And then salvation in the form of absurdity. Wu, she barked. Can you reroute the feed through their public entertainment system? Kelani sounded stunned. Like the one used for concerts and romance dramas? Yes. Pause. I mean yes. But why? Do it. 5 minutes. Tex shouted again, ducking behind a statue that used to be a holographic poet. What's the plan? May grinned, adrenaline roaring. We make them watch. Every channel. Every screen. Turn their silence into theater. Wu made it happen. Within minutes, every holopad in Syrax, 9 switched from soap operas and traffic updates to the image of a single face. Lieutenant Danacor's. Her voice, shaky but clear, rolled across the city like a ghostly tide. I was told surrender meant mercy. I was told I'd be sent home. I didn't even have shoes on when they dragged me away. Then the visuals. Bodies. Rows of them. Masses of Earth women with uniforms stripped, dignity erased, names wiped. The people of Syrax screamed. Some in horror, some in fury, and others, quietly, in recognition. Inside the tower, the tide turned. One of the elite guards paused, lowering his weapon. He was young. His voice cracked when he spoke. She looks like my sister. Another blinked, hand trembling. They told us, they said they were dangerous. May stepped forward, weapon lowered. They were daughters. Her voice shook now. You forgot we have daughters. You forgot we raised them to stand, to fight, to die with pride. You didn't just kill soldiers, you killed their futures. A silence fell. And in that silence, something shifted. The youngest guard dropped his rifle. Then another. It wasn't a victory. It was a fracture. A hairline crack in the spine of the Empire. Wu's voice came in again. Transmissions going system-wide. Not just this planet. 10 more just picked it up, including the capital. May didn't speak. She looked out the shattered glass window, down at the city of towers and trembling lights. Somewhere in those towers, someone was learning the truth. Someone was hearing the name of their daughter, whispered like a prayer. The tribunal couldn't stop it now. The Empire couldn't unsay it. It had begun. Tex stepped beside her, dust-covered and limping. You sure this is the way? May nodded. They made us fight to be heard, she said. Now they'll have to fight to forget us. The last shot of the transmission wasn't a corpse. It wasn't a weapon. It was a photo, Danacor's, smiling, standing next to her mother, both in uniform, holding a folded paper star with the words, "Come home safe." The screen flickered, then went black. May turned to her crew. We're not done, she said. We've just given them their first nightmare. They left through smoke and fire, the name of every fallen woman carved into May's memory like scripture. And across the galaxy, daughters watched. And remembered. The trial was never supposed to happen. The Galactic Tribunal prided itself on quiet corrections, backroom revisions, historical edits scrubbed clean by time and propaganda. They held no use for trials, not public ones, certainly not broadcast across 3,000 worlds. But this one was different. Because this time, the footage couldn't be buried, the dead couldn't be silenced, and the general couldn't be bought. And because someone had hijacked the Empire's broadcast grid. It started as murmurs, then news feeds, then a full shutdown of scheduled programming. And finally, a notification rang out across the galaxy, spoken in every native tongue, on every terminal, in every home. Emergency tribunal session initiated. allegations of war crimes against surrendered human prisoners. The feed began with silence. Then, slowly, the image came into focus. General May Riker sat not at a defendant's bench, but at the center of the tribunal floor, flanked by her crew. No chains, no armor, just a battered uniform and a piece of folded paper in her hand. The edges were frayed. The center bore a single smudged fingerprint in red. Across from her sat the full force of the Tribunal Council, 13 species, wrapped in ceremonial silks, hovering or seated behind shimmering defense screens. And behind them, the accused. 6 high-ranking Imperial commanders, hands folded, eyes glassy, no sign of regret, only the rigid arrogance of species unaccustomed to consequence. The moderator, a neutral AI called Decree 9, initiated proceedings. General May Riker, of Human Colony 4 Terra, you have levied charges of unlawful extermination, sanctioned targeting of surrendered noncombatants, and coordinated genocide against female-class prisoners of war. Are these charges made in earnest? May stood. I've buried too many to lie now. The chamber held its breath. A Krathian representative leaned forward, his voice oily. You were not authorized to enter Imperial archives. You obtained these records through one lawful means. May turned her gaze on him. You murdered surrendered women, she said. Let's not pretend decorum still matters. An Elorian jurist adjusted her glowing collar. You also disseminated this information across public networks, causing riots, planetary panic, and destabilization of trust in the Empire. May nodded once. Good. Murmurs spread. The alien press, lined up like chrome insects, buzzed in low frequencies. Across the Empire's farthest moon bases and deepest spaceports, people watched. Some stood. Some cried. Some just turned up the volume. Decree 9 continued. Present your evidence. May stepped forward and inserted a silver shard into the central projector. What followed was unfiltered, undeniable, and utterly human. The camera showed Camp Juno, pre-execution. Rows of exhausted women, some laughing, some sleeping with their heads leaned on each other. A few were writing home, letters never delivered. One girl, no older than 20, carved her name into the wall. Then the firing squads. The pit. The silence. May didn't look at the footage. She'd memorized every second. One of the tribunal elites, Admiral R.Y.K. Voss, cleared his throat. This was an isolated incident, carried out without knowledge of the High Council. May's voice didn't rise. It wasn't one camp, or one squad, or one war zone. It was 6 years, dozens of sites, thousands of women, all marked, all listed, all approved with full Imperial clearance. She turned to the audience camera. Her words now meant not for the tribunal, but for the galaxy. You didn't just kill soldiers. You erased caregivers, mechanics, teachers. You took the ones who surrendered first, who still believed you might honor a flag of truce. And you called it protocol. The Krathian leaned forward again. Earth has retaliated with force. Civilians have died. May met his gaze. Yes. And unlike you, we mourn our dead. A slow shift began. Subtle. Some of the jurists blinked longer. Others squirmed. One, a blue-skinned Athari, pulled up her sleeve to reveal a sigil. 3 lines over a circle. A human resistance mark. Is that accurate? The Krathian snapped, pointing. Do you wear the symbol of a terrorist faction? The Athari lifted her chin. I wear the mark of a woman whose cousin never came home. Decree 9's tone rose. Order. Present witness testimony. May motioned to the side. From the shadows walked a new figure. She was tall, cloaked, her head bowed. When she reached the center of the room, she removed her hood. Gasps rippled through the chamber. A member of the Imperial nobility, Princess Shireleth, daughter of one of the Empire's ruling houses. Presumed dead. Her image had graced recruitment banners for over a decade. But her face bore scars now. Her voice trembled. I was captured during the Varmali skirmishes. I identified myself. They didn't care. She turned to the accused. You were there. You signed the orders. Admiral Voss rose, pale now. Lies. Fabricated. Shire lifted a data chip. "This is my own voice," she said. "From your own archive. Asking for mercy." She played the recording. "This is Shire Leth, requesting immediate transfer under the Treaty of Zarnith. Denied. Female class assets are non-viable for retention." Voss bolted upright. "This is war propaganda." May stepped in front of him. "So was everything you told your people. And now they're watching you squirm." Across the Empire, riot spread. The footage played on loop. Parents clutched daughters tighter. Veterans remembered names they hadn't dared say aloud. Soldiers on border planets turned off their surveillance cams and walked away from their posts. The Empire tried to pull the signal, but the human relay system was scattered, redundant, and impossible to fully trace. The broadcast could no longer be stopped. May's final act came not with rage, but with restraint. She lifted the paper star from her pocket. Dana Korza's last letter. "I promised her someone would say her name out loud," May whispered. "Dana, you mattered. And so did all of them." She turned back to the tribunal. "I don't want your medals. Or your tears. I want their names carved into every world you call civilized. I want reparations. I want justice. And if you say no, then the stars will burn." Admiral Voss reached for his comm. A sharp beep cut the air. Wu's voice echoed from the side channel. "Transmission complete. 47 systems synced. You tried to erase this. It goes public in 1,000 more." Voss froze. "Decree 9 Pulse Gold. Ruling pending. Imperial Command will stand trial under independent galactic review." May nodded once. She turned to leave, then paused, turned back. "There's something about human women," she said. "You keep forgetting it. Maybe it's the voice. Maybe the smile. Maybe the way we tuck our rage into our sleeves and carry it like lullabies." She stepped closer to Voss, her voice low now. "But when we get tired of waiting, we don't shout." She held his gaze. "We build storms." And with that, May Riker walked out of the tribunal. The trial was televised, and the Empire would never forget it.